Before I go into any anatomy on the torso, I want to address three action concepts with you that address these blocks in space. So as a sculptor, you have to think three-dimensionally in space, every which way. You know, whether a form is going front, falling forward, falling back, going over to the side, turning in space. Okay, so you have to think almost like a physicist in a way. So one thing I mentioned was the axial tilt of the blocks front to back. And what that means, tilt, axial tilt, means that it's tilting on an axis front to back. So in the case of the pelvic block, it tips or tilts forward, downward. So remember, this plane is down in the dark, away from the light. Whereas the rib cage is doing the opposite. It will tend to tilt back, putting the front plane up into the light. So if I turn this to the light, this plane is brighter than this plane. See, this plane is going into a halftone because it's going under. Whereas this one's getting more shine because it's tipping up. So whether you say tip or tilt, I guess it's synonymous, but I'm talking about the tilt front to back. Now you're also going to have tilt side to side, left to right. And I mentioned that when I talked about, you know, what makes a contrapposto. When you put the weight on this right leg, it's going to perhaps raise that hip a little bit, and it's going to drop this hip substantially. So that's the tilt side to side. So you have two kinds of tilt you want to think in your head. Front to back, and then left to right. So if the standing leg is the right leg, then the right hip's going to be higher, the left hip's going to be lower. Now you get up to the rib cage shoulder combination block, that's going to tend to do the opposite. It doesn't always, but I've set up this pose so that it exemplifies that tendency. Okay, so I put this arm up to even make it more so. Remember, in art, you're a storyteller. You're telling a story. So you have to make it very clear and explain to the viewer what nature is tending to do. And you can always do the exception, but I'd say if you're just starting out, just learn what things tend to do, and then you can start to push the rules a little bit. And then the head, again, it's light enough that it can do whatever it wants, and it will have axial tilt front to back, side to side. And, you know, tilt front to back and side to side is one thing, but you also have to address the turn of the forms in space. So I like to call this twist. Twist, you know, that term twist kind of sets it apart from the tilts. So twisting of forms is going to have to do with their orientation, you know, this way. So what tends to happen is if you put your weight on the right leg, this front corner is going to tend to twist forward. This corner will be further in front of this one. And then again, nature's always alternating. So she will tend to go the opposite way up on the rib cage. So what we have is twist. See? See, that gives it a little more drama, a little more dynamic quality. So what's happening is, you can think about this shoulder being further forward than this shoulder, and then this hip being further forward than this hip. So we're alternating in space on the twist. Now the head is going to twist very easily in any direction you want it to. So in this case, I'm going for textbook drama here. So if I've got my pelvic plane facing down, to the left, I'm going to have the chest plane facing up to the right, and then I'm going to have the head facing up to the left. Now, when I say left and right, I'm talking about the figures left and right. Okay, so just to review, and this will really make all of your work so much stronger. And I know it might seem fundamental and elementary, but you're going to have I'll use a block here. You're going to have your tilt front to back. You're going to have tilt side to side. Then you're going to have twist. You're going to have twist or turn in space too. So those are just three things, three movements that you need to become very clear about in every single pose.